Hey everyone, welcome to another Yesshift Stevens Vinyl Adventures episode. On this one, I am celebrating the 40th anniversary of Yes's 9012 Live, The Solos. And this came out November 7th, 1985. I believe the 9012 Live concert film also came out around that time, perhaps in conjunction with it. And this was quite an interesting strategy, putting out this sort of thing. And I remember there was a time where, for a while, this album felt kind of rare, like it wasn't released on CD, or it wasn't available on CD in the US, at least for a while. I remember it was kind of a big deal, at least among Yes fans, when there was some sort of CD re-release in Japan back in 2009 or thereabouts. But let me go ahead and show you the cover image of this. I know that it's my background, but it kind of cuts off. So it's essentially the same image used for the 9012 Live video. It has that. Let me take off the player for a moment. Has the pink, yellow, blue, or red, yellow, blue. I don't know what it looks more like to people, but that symbol in the middle that's on 90125, but changed a bit so that the three colors look more like a pyramid. Now that I think about it, that I think this is the first time I've kind of looked at it like that. I've always looked at it as like three triangles forming one triangle, but yeah, it kind of looks like a triangular pyramid now that I think about it. And you got the continents on the earth. So, in a way, this kind of occurred to me that not only does this echo fragile and how it showcases the solo works of Yes members alongside at least a couple of the band pieces. I'll get to those. But also in showing a world on the cover, the fragile world, even though it doesn't look exactly like Earth, one cannot help but be reminded of Earth, the way, the blue oceans and the green land masses. Um, but here it very well is like actually Earth, those actual continents. So I do kind of wonder if maybe that was intentional, or it very well could have been a coincidence, or just trying to convey that there was a world tour for the 90125 album and they wanted to reflect that on the piece. But yeah, I quite like the cover and the fonts of the titles. It goes very well with the period, with the album. There is a part of me that does wonder what would Roger Dean have done with something like this at the time. But I think this is a really fitting cover for it. So I'll go ahead and remove that. And the first time I ever listened to a record, at least that I remembered, for all I know, maybe when I was a baby, dad may have played some records around me, but the first time I remember listening to an LP was 9012 Live The Solos. This would have been back in December 2008. I was kind of doing this thing where each week I'd listen to a different piece of Yes media, Yes releases to celebrate the 40th anniversary year of Yes. And so I got to this, and I happened to be visiting Dad, and I asked him about his record collection, and he got the record player, and we like lit a candle so that would kind of see how the music moves the fire. And I put on 9012 Live The Solos, and he was like, out of all the records to play, you choose this one. And I'm like, yeah, because I haven't listened to this one, but I kind of get where he was coming from, because this is a bit of an odd record, and also it has music I'm already familiar with for the most part. I'll get to that. But we did end up listening to other records of his, like the Gentle Giant live album. But yeah, this was the first one I listened to on a record player, and I got around to listening to it on this record player that I have in my room. So let me go ahead and show you the. Oh, let me take off the background, and I should be able to show this better. Okay. So I think as long as I hold it against my shirt, you can see this record sleeve. I don't quite know at the moment if it's the one Dad owned or if it's one that my brother may have found and given to me. But in any case, it was really fascinating to be able to listen to this again. And I'll go ahead and put the background image up again. I guess to remind anyone jumping in on the stream that this is what I'm talking about. So the track list on, well, I'll read the little blurb that's on the back of this. You see that on the back there are the band members, different shots of them from that concert, that 9012 live concert film. And on the back there's this blurb where it says, in March of 1984, this long overdue show went on the road. Aside from seeing 3 continents, 3 tour managers, one small army of Argentinian security, encountering numerous threats, 1 ticket office bombing, some minor bickering and moaning, 1 squadron of flying saucers over Denver. I wonder what that was all about. Lots of vodka and surviving 2 international escapes, the tour went smoothly and without incident. In spite of, or perhaps as a result of all this, what ensued was a series of shows that delighted audiences everywhere. Now, for your listening pleasure, some of these magical musical moments have been preserved on wax. Enjoy and thank God for small miracles and hasty retreats. And that's attributed to, it says from Seal Beach, Mickey Hayes, assistant tour manager. And what's nice is that it also includes the road crew credits here. You got tour manager Rex King, production manager Alan Santos, lighting director Merle McLean, house sound mixer Paul DeVilliers, stage monitor mixer Jack McHugh, synthesizer system design and programming Casey Young. That's of course the person who was playing some of the keys under the stage. And it also lists additional crew members like Nunu and a bunch of other people here. There's someone nicknamed the Goon. So, and it also says here that the tracks that were recorded in Edmonton, Canada, so that would have been the 9012 live video, were Hold On, Changes, and Amazing Grace, and Whitefish. And the remaining ones, See, Solly's Beard, and Soon, were recorded in Dortmund, Germany. I believe that was another filmed one. And it also lists Paul DeVilliers and Paul Massey as sound engineers. And says Hold On and Changes mixed at Master's Workshop, Amazing Grace and Whitefish mixed at Sun Park Studios, edited at Annerly Sound, all tracks assembled at SARM West, mastered by Bill Ludwig at Masterdisc, management Tony Dimitriades and Elliot Roberts for Lookout Management, project coordinator Robert Richards of Lookout Management, and got the ATCO record symbol at the bottom. So this side 1 has Hold On, See, Solly's Beard, and Soon, and side 2 has Changes, Amazing Grace, and Whitefish. What I noticed was that this record is bookended by John Anderson saying, on drums, Mr. Alan White. So Hold On begins, just like on the video with John being like, on drums, Mr. Alan White. It's so good to be with you tonight. Because Alan does that drum part at the beginning of Hold On. And Whitefish, of course, being a showcase of Chris and Alan, he says on the bass guitar, Chris Squire, or something to that effect, and then says on drums, Mr. Alan White. So I kind of wonder if that was intentional to bookend it like that. But yeah, Hold On is as good as you remember from the video. It's, it's familiar. It doesn't, if you've seen the video many times, then it might not necessarily blow you away. But if you listen to this record first and then watch the video, then maybe that's a more ideal method of discovery, because maybe people at the time would have listened to this and then been like, oh, I gotta see how this looks on the video. So maybe that's why they include Hold On and Changes as maybe previews to get people to buy the video. Because it does say here, recorded as part of the soundtrack of the movie 9012 Live. Although that is a little bit misleading, because that asterisk that's attributed to Hold On, Changes is also attributed to Amazing Grace and Whitefish. And those latter two are not featured in the video at all. So I suppose there are films where the soundtracks include a couple tracks that are not in the film at all. So I guess you could kind of give them some wiggle room for that. But I don't know. It's just kind of odd to me to include. I understand the reasoning, it's to preview the video. But speaking as a Yes fan, and knowing that there are songs on the video, or not on the video rather, and not on this record either, it's like I kind of would have liked for them to have swapped out Hold On and Changes for other recordings from that world tour. Hearts, I think, might have been at the Dortmund show. I don't know if maybe they might not have been happy with the performance or the mix. I'm not really sure, but either way, it should have been included on here because it's part of that album. And maybe part of it is the length of the song, and maybe you would have had to put a solo piece or two on a different side in order to make room for that. I see Meadowlander saying, was this release an impatient reaction by Atlantic Records to the delays with Big Generator? That's an interesting point. I don't think it is. The time that, well, I know there's the video, and the time that video was released would have been around the time of this, and it kind of feels natural to me, releasing that a year after the tour. So I don't think 9012 Live, the solos, was Atco or Atlantic Records being impatient. I think it was more so to this is my own speculation, capitalize on the video and release this as a companion piece to that. I think if they were feeling impatient, they would have released maybe 9012 Live, this other concert type of thing, and release something like that in 1986, like midway through the year or later in the year while waiting for a Big Generator. But that is an interesting point. And if we do discover that that is part of it, that I'm very open to being wrong. It can happen. Hey, it can happen. But yeah, so the 2009 CD re-release apparently included It Can Happen and City of Love. So that added a bit more to make this substantial. I mean, as it is, this only has 7 music pieces, and with those 2 bonus tracks on that re-release, it would have been 9, which would have made it even more like fragile, having 4 band pieces and 5 solo pieces. Or let's see, are these 5 solo pieces? Yeah, they are. Trying to remember, were the City of Love and It Can Happen tracks also from the video or from different concerts? Well, I'm sure Forgotten Yesterdays probably has the answer to that. But yeah, doing a quick online search, Wikipedia says that City of Love was part of the 902 Live soundtrack, and It Can Happen. The live version was originally the B side of the It Can Happen single, and that no date or recording location is given. But I'm sure the Yes nerds who are so in tune with the locations and place and timing, tour dates, and can compare recordings could probably figure that out. And I, of course, use the term nerds in a positive fashion. I mean, we're all kind of nerdy about different things we're fans about. So after Hold on side one, you get C, which is a Tony K solo. And I remember on the first listen, this was the one I was most looking forward to because, to my knowledge, I hadn't heard it. It's not available on any other official Yes release or any recording that I listened to at the time. And I think I appreciate it even more now. Bits of it feel kind of like a hint of what was to come decades later with his solo album End of Innocence. It kind of feels like film score stuff, different from Yes. There's even a little bit of a Phantom of the Opera vibe toward the end of the piece. So I think that's pretty cool, and it segues nicely into Trevor Rabin's solo Solly's Beard, which as a kid I had seen him play. I think it was backstage during rehearsals for the Union tour in that Yes Years documentary. And I'd probably heard a Union tour recording of him playing it as well. But it sounds very cool here. And, the quick pace of it, and you could tell the audience is super into it. So that's really neat. And then after a little bit of silence, we get Soon, which feels a bit odd going from Solly's Beard and then a pause and then Soon, and then you go through John singing the lyrics and then going through that Soon piece, and then all of a sudden the track is over. Quite a, to me, kind of a strange track to end a side of an album with, but I'm not really sure what the best place would have been to put this somewhere. Uh, like this version of Soon, it's fine, it's serviceable. I'm just so used to other versions where I feel like it stands out a bit more, whether it be within the context of Gates of Delirium or within other live versions where it's by itself. I can't really put my finger on to why I prefer other live versions of Soon by itself over this one. I don't know, maybe it's a placement of where it is on this album that's kind of coloring my perspective. On side two, we begin with Changes, and this is another reminder that Changes might be my favorite 90125 track. For the longest time, it was Hearts. Hearts has a lot of great changes in the music and melodic stuff, and I love the lyrics. But I think I've noticed over the last several years that Changes has kind of moved up a bit for me. And of course, this is the one from the video, and it looks great the way it looks in the video and the way it's edited with the. I always loved the split screen effects. There's some effects in the video that are kind of like, wait, what? But I do quite like the split screen effects between the band members. And so, yeah, it's a very, definitely stands out more to me than Hold on here. And again, just, we only have two full band pieces, and they're both from a video I've seen before, and Changes holds up really well for me on here. So that's followed by Chris playing Amazing Grace on his bass. And it sounds really great the way it sounds within wherever they're playing. And of course, on the Going for the One bonus tracks, you have the version where it's in a studio, but it's really cool to hear it live here. And then they conclude with Whitefish, which is Chris and Alan doing their thing. They play the fish, and then that goes into a bit of Tempest Fugit. And I remember when I first listened to this, I was surprised to hear John in the background singing, "Yes, yes, yes, yes." I think when I first listened to this, his vocals sounded more in the forefront, whereas on this go around, it felt in the background. I kind of wonder if maybe part of that is because I listened to it on headphones this time, headphones connected to my record player. I wonder if that at all made a difference with that. But then that goes into a little bit of sound chaser. So you got a bit of relayer teasing here with that and soon. And I'm sure if Yes, the current lineup did a bit of like sound chaser, like a tease of that today, I think it would feel kind of cheeky given the delayed and eventually canceled relayer tour. But I would still love to hear the Carolina play sound chaser if they ever can, but alas, again, I've made my peace with that whole relayer thing, but I'm open to that, any of those, particularly Sound Chaser, maybe To Be Over would be more doable. And that is my favorite track on the album, To Be Over, but I'm open to, them revisiting that stuff. So for a bit, I did wonder if Whitefish was the best track to end with. And I think going through it again, I could see that maybe it is a good place to put it, at the end of this record. Changes always felt like it could have been a strong closer. Some people argue that 90125 side A should have been side B, and I could very well see that working, ending with changes, ending with a bang. Changes, just ending like that. Like that would be and I guess that would make it feel a bit more like a Heart of the Sunrise ending, like on Fragile. But yeah, the patterns, well, many patterns I've noticed, beginning with a band track here, which is Hold On Fragile, it was Roundabout. Then you get the keyboardist solo, in this case C. On Fragile, it was Cans and Brahms. But then it breaks that pattern. You still have John Anderson's solo on side A, and then on side two, of course, you only have one other band track, but Chris's solo. Uh, this is where it gets kind of weird. Chris's solo piece on Fragile is the fish, and it's the yeah, I guess it's not the penultimate track. If that would have been Mood for a Day, never mind. I was gonna say you get a solo here, and then technically a Whitefish, which is him and Alan. This is credited as their thing as the final track. But yeah, that pattern doesn't work. So there are definitely some differences. I definitely prefer Fragile overall. To me, it just feels like it has a bit more meat to it with more band tracks alongside the solo tracks. And yeah, it's a fine listen. I'm glad that I have it. I'll go ahead and show you how the record itself looks. All right, so it's in this. It's a white jacket, and you got the so it's a black record, and you got the in the center the Atco symbols. Let me go ahead and change the background. Yeah, like the Atco illustration that they would do is it basically you have several discs, and they'd have like a purple outline, So how many of them are there on here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so there are 13 of them on the cover. That doesn't look very good, does it? Let me just adjust the... Okay, so should look a little bit better. It's side A. This is side 2. And of course, list of tracks. That's a CRC stereo. Yeah, I'm trying to go through in my head what would have been a more ideal way to order these particular tracks. Because I think opening with changes would be too soon. Soon. Opening with soon would definitely be too soon. But yeah, maybe there is no way to change this that would make it substantially different. I think in order for it to feel more different, it would have had to have been maybe a double album instead of just this two-sided thing that has a heavy emphasis on solos and the Alan and Chris duet. It very much does feel like the concert film was the main thing, and this was kind of a bonus thing on the side. So, yeah, that's... I guess it feels a little bit of an oddity in Yes fandom in that fashion. But hey, I'm glad it exists. Even though it could have had more included on it, I'm glad we at least have it. And hey, there are lots of recordings from various concerts on that tour available on YouTube. So I guess we should count ourselves lucky that we have the internet. But yeah, what a tour this must have been. That whole thing. Yes, it's back, but it also feels fresh and new. And you got new fans who are really on high on that album. Honestly, very surprised that Owner of a Lonely Heart wasn't on this record, given how popular it was and still is among people. Many people, many casual music listeners who, when they think of Yes, they might first think of Owner of a Lonely Heart. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on 9012 Live, the solos. Uh, Thanks for tuning in. And I know that there has been a bit of Yes news, a certain Tales re-release coming up in the coming year. I'll talk about that and maybe a couple other things that may have popped up on a news desk edition on Monday. Yesterday was my birthday, and I'm doing some other related things this weekend. So I think Monday will be a good time to do a news desk edition. Meadowlander asks, did they have a US release on CD? It seems only Japanese releases are available. So, not that I'm aware of. I remember for years, like back in the 2000s, I noticed that it's not available in the US on CD, at least at that time. And then 2009 was like the Japanese reissue I had heard about. So, yeah, I don't know that it's been re-released in the US. I guess could do a quick Google. Has now into live the solos CD been released in the US? It says it's available through retailers. I don't know if that means, huh? Yeah, because when I look on Amazon, I see used and new. So, oh, and it says import. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is something that they should do for one of those super deluxe editions, honestly. They're doing it with all the classic Yes albums, well, the ones that I guess are considered the fan favorites. But honestly, you could do a super deluxe edition with something like this and really add more ingredients to the whole thing, you know? There's just so much that they could do, and I'm sure there are bits here and there that are available. Maybe when they eventually, if when, I don't know if it's going to happen, but um, I mean, it's got to because of how successful the album was. But if they eventually do a super deluxe edition of 90125, maybe they could include 9012 Live, the solos as a disc, and include other live things not available on that or on the video. So those are the kind of things that I would hope that the people working on the super deluxe editions would do. But I guess we would just have to wait and see. I imagine something like that would be kind of further off. We've done the Yes album, Fragile, Close to the Edge, and Tales is next year. So I imagine they'll probably do Relayer the year after that. Um, Maybe going for the one. I don't know if Tormato would be considered like something to do a super deluxe edition for, or drama. Like, we the fans enjoy those albums, but I kind of get the vibe that it feels like these super deluxe editions are going for what's considered, quote, the main sequence, unquote, which I don't remember where I first read about this, but where Yes fans or maybe critics consider the main sequence to be the Yes album through going for the one. So I imagine 90125 would uh, be maybe the late 2020s or something like that, at the earliest. So I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see what ends up happening. But thanks for tuning in. And like I said, I'll go live with a news desk edition on Monday. Time still to be determined. And I'll talk about 11 Torn White sometime next week. Probably on maybe on Wednesday. I'll see if I can do it on Wednesday. And then, of course, I got the Yes concert I'm seeing, and then the Steve Hackett concert I'm seeing. And there will definitely be reviews of those. So thanks for tuning in, everyone, and see you all soon.